Okay, we're going to do a quick video, 10 to 12 minutes, on how to fake it until you make it on AI rapid prototyping. So a lot of people understand the concepts of AI, many of the moving parts, what things are. They might even be able to speak a little bit of dev language, but aren't coders. So how do we take the little knowledge that we have and start from somewhere to become a little more dangerous? So we're going to start with a few basic tools. We're going to start with ChatGPT, and we're going to use Open AI. You'll need an Open AI account. You'll get a certain number of API calls for free, and then you've got to top it up, but they really don't cost a lot. I use GPT 3.5 Turbo as the model of choice. It's not their best model, but it's their cheapest. It's great for prototyping. And ChatGPT is far more versatile than people give it credit for. So to give you one example of this, I'm going to pull our solutions document, sign in. Okay, that's fine. Yeah. So this is a document that we have of many of our different IoT and AI solutions. Good work, Mr. Oriole. And if we just download this, save as, download a copy, solutions 3. Certain things we can do with ChatGPT. So I could say, for example, let's upload our document, we should download 3. And let's say create me a basic web application which uses Spotlight to visualize the attached, include some interactive. Now if I say do not show me code, just the attached run. Okay, so I've told it I want a web application, put /page, which uses Plotly. So I've learned enough about Python libraries to understand what does what roughly, and this is part of the journey. You start to understand these as you go. Include some interactivity, do not show me code, just give me the attachment. So you have something called a code interpreter, and an auto interpreter that sits within ChatGPT. It's effectively its own Jupyter notebook and runtime environment. So it can write code and then save it as files to a mount point, which it can give you that attachment. So I've given it a very basic instruction. Right, it's analyzing at the moment. It is showing me code, which I didn't really want to see. So I'm just going to uncheck that. Right, so you can see here it's run through the spreadsheet. It's opened up a Python 3.1 sandbox environment, is where it stored the worksheet, and now it's creating a basic web application, and it's going to package it for me as a download link. So if you need to show something in a slightly more interesting way than just a PowerPoint or a spreadsheet, you can do that. And these Python libraries are really quite powerful. I'll give you an example in a minute trying to analyze it. It's interesting, many people are saying that since the newer models have been released of GPT-4, the models are degrading. This is certainly the case for more complex tasks. They're putting more guardrails on their resource, but for things like this you should be fine. Be very clear with the instruction. Okay, now based on the amount of time it's taking, it may time out and think it's giving me a working link, and then the link doesn't work, and I'll just tell it and it will redo it, and it will work. Let's see what happens. It's doing. Okay, it's still writing the file, giving me. So you see here, it's written out some code, spins up a Flask server, Pandas, which is kind of like it's for presenting tables, manipulating data in Python. Plotly Express for visualization. Flask is a little web server, and it's pulling the data from. It's pulling the data from a mount point. Now if it wants me to install Flask, it shouldn't have. So that would work, but I'm looking for a simpler solution. And this is kind of dipping into the lessons I kind of want to go into a bit later. I was going to say there's a problem, let's go have another crack. I wouldn't worry about it. Now, if I want to be really specific, if it doesn't get to where I want it to be after this, I can say, assume that the required file is in the working directory of the Python application. So this is now embedded in. Let's see if this link works. Okay, link's working. Now if we click on that, there we go. We can see we've got a nice chart, and we can zoom in on certain bits if we want to. We can double click to zoom back out. We should be able to hover and see what the counts are. So you can see we've got one safety solution. Okay, that's one category. Okay. 40 plus process automation solutions, 20 plus, etc. And you can play with it if you want to be more impressive. That's solutions by category, and you can see you've got some other bits in here, so you can lasso certain bits if you want, or you can reset everything, do a bunch of stuff, download that as a PNG file, do whatever. One other interesting thing is when you add other dimensions to this. So if we looked at our solutions document, you can see here that we've got categories, and we've got industries, and we've got vendors. So we've got four potential dimensions that we could sit across. Let's say we go with 3 of them. So we want to see how many solutions there are by category and by industry. So what we can say is, I would like a 3D, let's call it a 3D surface diagram with interactivity, which looks at categories and industry as 3 dimensions, as well as solution. Okay. So please iterate a new web. So this should all still be using Plotly Express again. There are other visualization tools. Give this a chance. And again, come on, finish the job. And the kind of cool thing here is you can act as a sort of pseudo data scientist. I don't think this link is going to work because it bombed out the analyzing, but it's pretending it has. Maybe it has. Yeah. It has. There we go. Here we go. So we have a 3D plot. We can look around. Oh, that's cool. So we've got our industries. We can see for financial services. So energy and machine learning is a big one. Product inspection for retail and e-commerce and manufacturing. Quite a big one. So yeah, we can really play around. We could start to turntable rotation. Ooh, we can reset that. Change it to orbital rotation. So yeah, this can really spice up presentations. We can reset the camera, download that as a PNG, do whatever we need to do. Okay. Now, what I could do is iterate that again and say add interactivity and filters. And I'm not going to be very specific here. I can be if I want to. But let's say I want to do a whole bit exploring data with people. I might want to filter, I don't know, by a certain set of categories or a certain set of industries. Or I could add that vendor dimension as something that I can filter by. Excuse me. Okay, so this is now interesting. So now it's going a step further, and it's kind of built me an application, a Python file, sorry. So what I can do here is, right, so this is taking me into the territory of having to know a little bit around Python and around how to create environments. For running Python applications, you need specifically, I would suggest this version at least. You want to be looking at a tool called Anaconda. It's free. Obviously on a corporate machine, you're going to have challenges, so make sure you have a machine where you have admin rights. And effectively what it does is it enables you, in the same way VMware gives you virtual machines, Anaconda enables you to have different virtual environments for your Python applications. Different Python applications might be optimized to work with certain libraries. Libraries are effectively supporting supported installations and files which call upon additional functionality packages or certain versions of Python. If you have lots of different applications, you don't want them rubbing up against each other, so you have separate environments. Fundamentally, similar principle to Docker and Kubernetes and everything else. These are separate runtime environments with their own dependencies. So I have Anaconda, and I'm curious about that application. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into Anaconda prompt, which comes with the installation. Effectively, it's command line. You don't need to know too much. cd ... takes you all the way back a level anyway. So I like to create folders in my C drive because I'm a heathen. I'm going to create a folder called dash app demo. And then I'm going to go into that folder. I am going to run this on Python version 3.10. So we do all of our conda instructions, Anaconda instructions with the prefix conda. Create is a new environment, dash dash name. So that's where we're going to put a value in. I'm going to call it dash app demo, same as the folder. And then Python equals 3.10. It's a variable. Dash dash y means I don't have to press the Y button when it asks me to. It's just going to blast through it. Yeah, no, that's fine. So you see it's installing Python 3.10, and now we're just going to enter into the environment we created. So conda activate, and then dash app demo. You can see here where it says base. That's going to change to our environment name, dash app demo, and then we have our CLI. So now it's telling me here that I need to install two libraries, dash, which is the I guess the mini web server and the library for creating these dashboards, and pandas, which effectively is a data transformation tool. So if I now jump into this, I'm going to do, and notice it's telling you exactly how to do it. So you could say, how do I do it with Anaconda? It would give you the instructions. So I'm going to go pip install dash and pandas. Then it's going to go and fetch these libraries. These libraries are all published and have to have a unique name. So I'll effectively pull those published libraries. They also have package up wheels, which are other libraries within them that they're going to use. And generally they do a pretty good job at maintaining interoperability between versions of libraries, which is handy. So now, while it's doing this, I'm going to take my script, download that, and keep it. It says Python files are dangerous because they can. Take this, and I'm going to Control X, cut it into my dash app demo folder, stick that in there, and it wants the data file as well as a CSV. I'll download that as well, and then I guess I'll just open this and drag this in here. Okay, and what you'll see is it's given us a CSV file with the data, and this is the Python script it's given us to run. So it's done all the work. We can have a quick look at the code. This is called an IDE. So this is a coding environment, so I can stay in light edit mode here. And the great thing about this is it gives you all the dependencies, number one, but also that it comments in every aspect and it's telling you what each code snippet does, what each section does. I would recommend using an IDE like this, or visual code, whatever it is, because you can see the line numbers. So that's fine. So we've got our application file, got our CSV file. We have set up our environment. Okay, it's still installing dash, reasonably large library. Surprising. By the way, if you need to get out of anything on here, just Control C. Sometimes when I think it's hanging, I'll do a Control C when it's doing a pip install. and it will still maintain any installations it's done, and when you run it again, it'll just pick up the ones that are left. Probably not recommended and bad practice, but nonetheless. And sometimes what I like to do here is where I see libraries that look interesting. So the requests library, for example, is for dealing with APIs. It's dangerous, no idea what that does, so I might Google that later and have a look. We've got the zip library, TS data, so these are libraries for packaging things. And then you've got pandas, Python date util, so that's pulling the I think date and time from the system, a bunch of other stuff. So we'll do a quick check back on the instructions from ChatGPT. It's just saying run this. So proof in the pudding is in the eating. It should run a little web server. Now this might look terrible, however what we're seeing here is actually a good thing, because it means that we can troubleshoot with ChatGPT as our debugger. And actually that's really valuable because we learn from that. So if I just chuck in the error, okay, file not found. That's fine, Jesus Christ. So when we look here, it's a file not found problem. It can't find any of the columns that I referenced. Yeah, that's fine, as I thought. So we just need to change that whole mount path. I would just remove it. Oh, dash app demo. There we go. But because it's in the same working directory, we shouldn't need to explicitly put that whole direct-click directory. So if we jump in here, here's our mount path. Should be able just to do this. Yeah, that'd be fine. So when you don't put a explicit path in there, it should just look at the working directory. So I'm going to save this. Go back into here, just tap the up key on the directional pad. It will give you the last command. Here we go. It's now running dash on our local IP address. So 127.0.0.1 is home on port 8050, and it's serving a Flask application. So if we now go to our web browser, should be able to jump in here. There we go. And now we have a little web application. 3D visualization, however, for whatever reason it's not actually rendering any data. That's because it's in aerospace and defense, so let's forget that. Let's do facilities and real estate. Right, so interestingly, it's not actually, it's got our categories, which is great, but it's not, the actual data values are empty. Now, the cool thing about GPT-4, especially with ChatGPT, is it has GPT-4V, 4 Vision. What that means is, if I show it this, paste that in there, save that, I'm going to see if it's identified the fact there's no actual data. If it can't see anything, then I'll say there's no data. Right, just going to pick up on some general issues. Fine. Alright, to be fair, it doesn't know how much data there should be based on the filter. Unless I'm missing something. No, there ain't nada. And there should. So let's kind of have a look there. I might just have a quick look in my IDE, just to make sure there's nowhere else it's trying to explicitly load from a path. But no, that was the only place. So that's fine. So that is my synopsis. Always nice to get an affirmation from an AI system. Now bear in mind, GPT-4, I think in ChatGPT is using an 8,000 token context window, just over. Which means that once it's displayed more than between 7,000 and 8,000 words, it starts to forget the things discussed at the beginning of the conversation. So if you want to be double safe, you can give it the whole code again. But it might all still have that code stored in its sandbox environment. So we'll give it a go. Just say yes. If the code it creates isn't good, then I'll just copy and paste all the code out of my IDE into ChatGPT. Bear in mind, of course, this is public ChatGPT. Don't put data in here which is sensitive. So if it's sales data, maybe anonymize the categories. If it's about people, maybe replace the names. I don't know, whatever you need to do to either mask or remove sensitive aspects to data. Okay, now the nice thing about this though is we're going to have two versions of this now. So it's going to give me a downloadable file when it's finished using its code interpreter. You can watch this if you want, so you can see the process. Again, it's using Dash, it's using Pandas, Plotly Express. Again, it's using explicit mount path, which we can just remove that from, but it hasn't remembered to do it, but that's fine. We learned something the last time, but this time it's using a 2D bar chart. This is using Plotly. So on the y-axis it's going to have the solution count, on the x-axis it's going to have our category. Our mouse over label will be the number of solutions. So let's load this up. We're going to keep that. We're going to open this, and we're going to get our Dash App demo. And now I've got interactive 3D and 2D. Fantastic. Open this up in our IDE. Just fix the thing we know won't work. Remove that bit, save it. Now Flask is already running, but still, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do Control-C here to bomb out of this. I'm going to jump back in here, change this to the 2D app we just got, and then this should serve this up for us. Here we go. So now we can see same local address, aerospace and defense. All those solutions are in safety, video surveillance. But we can also add education. If we're looking at combined construction. So yeah, we can really start to play with it. So you can see now, for data management, we have 22 solutions. Now we could be cleverer about this and decide that we don't just want to see an aggregate number of solutions represented. We want to see a split and have a stacked pie or a stacked bar, and it would do it for us. But this is the whole point. You can iterate, you can play, you don't need to be a developer. Anyway, I think that's probably enough for today.